Hi, my name is TJ. My dad died of overdose on January 1st, 2011, and my mom is a recovering addict. God helped my mom, and now together we are here to help you. Now let's talk recovery. Here's your host, my mom, Susan Sexton-Wood.
Hi, and welcome to Let's Talk Recovery. I am your host, Susan Sexton-Wood. We want to thank you for joining us tonight. Let's Talk Recovery is a show that brings on individuals to share their testimony of active addiction and what they have done in recovery to change their life. We've also had on law enforcement and drug and alcohol counselors. We want to bring to the community just the different struggles of how addiction affects everyone's life, not just the person who struggles with the addiction. Today, our guest is Char Snow. Hi, Char.
Hi, Susan.
How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
I'm good. We're going to listen to Char today share her testimony. She's a big advocate in the Richmond area, and we are first just going to ask her to start by sharing her testimony.
Well, Susan, it started out like this. I am that lightweight drinker, and I am an alcoholic. I have a sobriety birthday of 5/23 of '06, so I just celebrated 13 years.
Wow.
So when I was a kid, somehow at 3, I got into my mom's alcohol. And she had a decanter, I guess, on the table, and they had like 6 little bottles on there. So I drank all 6 of them. And I don't remember, I honestly don't remember, but my mom tells the story, and they have a joke in our family. Just past the cap underneath her nose, she'll pass out, we'll put her to bed. So when we moved here to Richmond, and I had met this girl, and I was in high school, and that's the first time I remember drinking and being extremely sick. And when I got home, my mom had asked me, had I been drinking, and I said yes, and so she said, I'll always know, and then she told me this story. And how I ended up in the rooms of AA is I was living in California, and I was working 3 jobs, and I was in this marriage that was an abusive relationship. And so I found myself drinking shots of tequila just to not have to think about anything. So we had been out, I had been working all day, and I'd gotten off from the 3rd job, and we had gone out to dinner, and I was on my way home, and I took a different route home because he and I had gotten into this argument. And during that time, there was a young man on a motorcycle, and I cried. And he had been weaving, according to the witnesses, he had been weaving in and out of the traffic, and he hit me. And all I can really remember is hearing the sound of his body hit the pavement. And so I stopped my car, and it was on a Friday night, and I seen there was a lot of traffic behind me, and the only thing I could think of is somebody's going to run over him. So I pulled my car sideways, and they airlifted him to a hospital in San Bernardino, and I kept calling all night long to find out how he was. He passed at 1 a.m. So I was beside myself. I didn't know how anything was going to turn out at that point. I was scared. I didn't know what would happen with his family, and it took about a year for them to even find his family. And in the meantime, they had called me and said that there was no money to bury this young man. And so they wanted to use my insurance to do that, and I agreed to do that. So then I was in and out of court for a while, and finally the judge came to me and he said, "What are you willing to do?" And I said, "I'm willing to do whatever you ask of me." And so he and my attorney talked, and they came back out, and he said, "Are you willing to do 5 years probation in the rooms of AA?" And I was willing to do that. So that's how I come to AA, to the program. And in the beginning, it was hard. You know, I didn't want to share, I didn't want to talk, I didn't want to tell people what had happened, because I didn't know what to say, and I didn't think that I would ever hear that story coming from anyone else. So what I learned through all this is that no matter what, if we are willing to fight for our sobriety, we can have it, we can grow. And then I was probably in the program for like a year, and I got a sponsor. I was at a what we called a birthday speaker meeting in California, and someone had said to me, "Char, you've never shared your story, and you really need to open up, and you need to get a sponsor, and you need to do these things." So I said, "Okay, I can do that." And that night, a lady walked in, and I just really connected with her. And I asked her to sponsor me, and so I did, and I started working those steps, and I began to open up to the people, and I began to share. And I thank the judge every single day that he sent me to those rooms of AA. It's been an amazing journey for me. I have this amazing life today. So I began to work those steps, and as I worked the steps, I got really sick. And I ended up in the hospital, and I was laying in the bed. The priest came in to give me a blessing, and so as he left, and he turned around and he come back, and he said, "Are you a friend of Bill W.'s?" And I said, "I am," because my AA big book was laying on the table, and I had my notebook that I was working the steps in. And so he said, "So am I." And so I actually ended up doing my 5th step with that priest. And then afterwards, I called my sponsor and told her what happened. And at that point in time is when God really began to work for me again. I know he never gave up, but I had given up. And it was amazing. It was just amazing. So I told my sponsor what had happened and that I had shared with the priest. And she said, "We don't have to do it with me." And I said, "No, I want to." Because I didn't want her to think I was this horrible person, the things that I had done or where I had been. And so as I began to share it with her, I was able to get that release, that peace, that serenity that we always look for. And at the end, when she tore up those pages and she set it on fire, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" And I said, she tells me that, she goes, "It now belongs to God, and you never have to think about this again." But I will tell you that there's not a day that goes by that I don't think of this young man. And she began to put me into service work, and I followed the directions, and I was traveling all over the place to do conventions, and they would ask me, "Are you willing to come out to Nevada to share your story out here?" And I said, "Yeah, I can do that." So then I went from that to, of course, our group in California was called The Hug. It was a Hesperia umbrella group. And what we did is, the reason it's called that is because we helped to keep all small meetings open outside of our group. And I began to go to different ones and learn from others who had been through what I had been through. And then I heard my story one day, and it was like, oh my gosh, somebody else has actually had this to happen. And so I went to a campfire meeting, and there was a young lady that I shared the story with at the campfire, and she began to cry, and she said, oh my gosh, Char, you just told my story. So for me, it was being able to do that again and just help one person to understand. So I began to go to places like Oregon, to meetings out there. It was nothing for me to get in my car and just take off and drive. And so what happens for me is I got a phone call from my mom, and Papa had stage 4 cancer, and they said he wasn't going to make it. And earlier, my sister was really sick, so I lost my baby sister during sobriety. And then my grandmother, I lost her during sobriety times. And I think those are our hardest times, when we lose a loved one. And so I got really angry with God. I got really angry, and I didn't understand. And I wear the cross and the footprints and all those things. And I took them all off and put them in the jewelry box. And I was at an AA meeting when we were talking about spirituality and how we have that moment with God. And so I had gone home, and I started to pray and asking him, and I kept saying, I don't understand, I don't feel you anymore. I don't understand why I can't feel you. So I had laid down on the floor, and I put my hands behind my head, had my feet up on the bed, and I was listening to a spiritual CD, and I had this amazing thing to happen with God and me. And as I lay there, and I'm talking to him, and I became very quiet, and he put his hand, I felt somebody put their hands down on my arms. And because I had said, just please tell me that you're still with me. And I thought it was my roommate playing a joke on me. And as I slowly opened my eyes, I seen that there was no one in the room but me and God. So I got up back off of the bed and put my jewelry back on and said, thank you. Thank you for still being with me. And my mother had told me, if I lose my faith, then I'll lose everything. And so as I began to walk the journey and actually became closer to, I kept asking him every day, just help me to become closer to you, because that's what I need and that's what I want. And so I started doing that, and then I went back to church. And today I get to, when I came back here, I lost Papa, he passed, and I got to come back here, and I work with the 228 Club, and I get to work with others that need that help. And I love my life today. You know, I get to work with the Recovery Church and help there. I get to partner with Drug-Free Wayne County in the partnership with READ, Community Benefits. But the biggest thing that is exciting for me, we have people that transition from the recovery centers, and they come to us. And I get to work with those people. So, you know, not everybody stays, but the majority will stay and become better. We have a young lady who will celebrate her first year in a few weeks.
Oh, wow.
And to watch them grow and to get jobs and become productive again within our community, and just to see them get back with their families. For me, that's amazing. I think it's wonderful. So.
Well, earlier you talked about service work, that you started to do service work. For those that don't really understand the recovery world and the lingo that comes with it, what is service work?
My sponsor put me to work in doing like secretary. I think they call them leads or chairpersons back here. Out there, they called them secretaries. So she made me do that for a year. And then she had me buying supplies for our group. And then she gave me the position. There was a board member that was stepping down. He was president of the board. And she said, I'm going to nominate you and you're going to take it. And when I said, because for me it was like, I didn't believe in myself anymore. So when I said to her, I don't think I can do that. And she said, you can, you will, you'll learn. And so I began to do those things. Those are the things I did. And then I would travel, like I said, out to the conventions in Nevada and Oregon and different places and actually work on the committee to put these big conventions together. And those particular conventions, there would be anywhere from 2,000 to 3,000 people, and then I got to work on the floor and that type of thing, and get to meet people from all over the world, just from all over the world. And those are the things that for us is service work. The people that stay with us at the club, they also are in service work, but they work the coffee bar and wait on members and people that come in, or they sit and talk with them throughout the day. So that's what I mean when I say service work.
So you're at the 228 Club.
I am.
Explain what the 228 Club is.
The 228 Club is a place that we house meetings for all addictions. And then we have a few people that transition to us. We have some bedrooms upstairs that they're able to stay in until they can get back on their feet.
What's the criteria for those that maybe want to come and get a room?
They'll have to write a letter to the board. There is a suggestion box. They have to state why they would like to be there. And then the board will read it. We have a board meeting once a month. And as we're going through the suggestion box, we call the people in and we do interviews with them. They must have 30 days sobriety.
Okay.
And preferably, we ask that they come from a recovery center so they get at least 30 days and aren't on the street doing what they normally do. Right. So when they get into us, and we do have an emergency room for someone that needs to stay for a couple of days until we can help them get into
Wow. So they don't have to be sober, or
they have to be sober.
They don't have to have 30 days though for that room?
We prefer that they have 30 days. Usually it's people that are coming into meetings, and as they come into these meetings and we watch them and see, and we do alcohol and drug tests. We have an 18 panel that we use. Okay. So it's all about honesty, being honest with everyone, even ourselves. So that is what they need to do if they would like to come in. That is to write that letter, get it dropped in. We have our board meetings are the second Sunday of every month at 1:00. So right now we're holding events, lots of events, thanks to Drug Free Wayne County and Reed Community Benefits. So we have an event every month. We do have one coming up, I believe it's July 13th, and it's a family picnic.
And you do different things.
We do different things.
Share some of the different things. Your goal is to do something every month. and you reach out for grants to do that every month, so there's not a cost.
Grants and donations is what helps us. We don't make a lot of money, and the people that stay with us, most of them don't have jobs, so they live rent-free. So we strictly rely on donations and our grants to get us through.
Okay. You are the president of the board.
I am the president of the board.
So share, and I know a lot of things have changed since you took over that position. Things that you started to do to bring in the grants, to do the monthly events. Share some of the stuff that you started to do.
The exciting thing this year is our relapse prevention class, which is ran by a board member, and he has 19 years in the program, and it's an amazing class. For someone who is afraid of going out there and that they're going to use again, we give out the materials, we print them, give out the materials, and our class starts at 4 on a Saturday, and it's usually about an hour to hour and a half, but sometimes we're so excited that with the people that are in there and doing the paperwork and Brian explaining and sharing with one another, it helps us to understand. That's my most exciting thing with the club, other than events. You know, we've had euchre tournaments and we've had barbecues. We have the picnic coming up. We had last Friday we had family movie night, and this is for people that are actually out there that have no place to go, that need a place and can come and have fun and not worry about the alcohol or the drugs being on the property. I am now in search of a band so we can open up and have like a Saturday night or something and have a big dance. So those are the things that have changed, because there was never any events for anyone that I know of in the Richmond area where they could actually go and have fun and be safe.
And sober events.
And sober events.
Yeah.
And that's what we provide today. Yeah.
So it sounds like you're, a lot of times in active addiction, we play cards and we listen to music and we have gatherings, but there's always alcohol or a substance in those gatherings. So you're trying to take the substance away and give that to the recovery world.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's where we want to go with it. And so far we've had some good time. We've had a lot of good time. And it's been a lot of fun, and most people that come in say, you know, it's comfortable and they can have fun.
Okay. You mentioned the Recovery Church.
Yes.
The Recovery Church is actually new in
Yes.
the Richmond area.
It is.
Would you like to share a little bit about the Recovery Church, what they're doing, where it's located, and the day and time so individuals can find their way to that meeting?
We're right off of 5th and L. I don't know the exact address. That's bad. I'm sorry.
It's right on the corner. It's a church.
Yes. So Pastor Joe is our preacher, and he's amazing. I had my baptism there. I was rebaptized again a month or so ago. Our second baptism was last night. And then we have child care. After the service, there is also an AA or an addiction meeting, a recovery meeting. So that is downstairs. And so we meet and we talk about the big book. I kind of try to give some suggestions of things that we can do to help within our recovery. So, yeah, they're amazing people.
Good.
So,
And you're also with the partnership, drug-free partnership
We
of
are.
Wayne County.
we are.
And what does that consist of?
We have a meeting once a month, but as you know, the 4-H fair, Wayne County Fair is coming up. And we will have tables out there talking about recovery, and things that we do and where people can actually get the help that they need. So there'll be a whole lot of us from the partnership there. Of course, we have the International Drug Overdose coming up in August. They will be sending out the, I think we called them papers. They're big, and we'll be doing handprints. The club will have it from the 1st of August to the 8th. And then on the 31st, all of them come together. We put the handprints. Raise my hand. I don't know what she meant. Yeah, raise your hand. That's what they're
what it's
calling
called.
it. Yeah. So then there's like different colors for different things, for people that have overdosed but come out of it, for people that we have lost. So it's amazing. It's amazing. So I can't wait. Those are the things that I get to be involved in, and I like it.
What's some of your hopes for recovery?
My biggest hope is there's so much stigma on these people that come in. And my biggest hope is that we can get rid of all that and that we can work together. I hear so much negativity with things, and it breaks my heart, because just because we've all had a problem doesn't make us bad people.
Right.
Sometimes people don't understand it's the life that, as maybe some that were younger had a problem, and I know a lot of our kids today. And I would love to find a way to start a program for these kids that are out there that struggle. I would like to see more positivity within our community.
Yes.
And all of us work together, because if we all come together on it, hopefully we can make this a better community and get rid of the other problems.
Okay.
That's what I have.
Well, we want to thank you for being on the show, Char. Done a great job of describing just all the things that you're doing. It sounds like you're a very busy woman, and you have a heart to help those, and that's the key, is to have a heart to help those get out of the life that once had you and bounded and chained. So we want to thank you for joining us on Let's Talk Recovery. If you would like more information about the 228 Club, if you would like to get a hold of Char and all of her endeavors that she's connected with out there, just get a hold of us and we'll connect you with her. There is the Recovery Church on Tuesday nights at 6:30 in Richmond. That's something new. And so we just asked you to keep praying for the ministry of Unchained Praises. We want to thank you for joining us on the Let's Talk Recovery show.